that scorpions glow in the dark. I didn't always know that, and when I discovered that information, I thought that was so cool because we are navigating through some very interesting territory on the planet. Greetings and peace to you all. This is Umi. Thank you guys for tuning in to my YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who has liked, shared, subscribed, you've left a comment, you've made a donation, you've booked a session, you've joined me on Patreon. I really appreciate everyone who supports this channel. So today I want to build with you Scorpios, lunar Scorpios, those who resonate, vibe with Scorpio, your man's a Scorpio, whatever, you're tuning in. So thanks for being here. But before I get to the video, I want to encourage those of you who have not already to go to the website and register for the September 30th group session. This is a live session. We get to build with one another, share and express. And it's about self-love and self-worth. Do not take this subject for granted. Many people don't recognize their own value, how to add value to others, how to see value within yourself, and to work through things like self-love, because this often contributes to our regrets in life, doing things out of a lack of self-love. And so we have these different reactions and experiences that don't really support us, don't serve us. So a great build, definitely do that. Register for that September 30th at 6 p.m. Central. So let's get into the video. Today, I want to build with you, dear Scorpios, on your sensitivity. And like all the other water signs, it's important that we find a container to house our emotional body and emotional nature. Our emotions often tend to spill out or go from one extreme to the other when we're not aware of our emotional body. Scorpio, unlike Cancer and Pisces, is connected to depth and an emotional depth. And as I've probably mentioned in other videos, the deeper in the ocean you go, the colder the water gets. So although you're sensitive, this can sometimes come across as a coldness. And that coldness is what can be described as a self-preservation or way of protecting your sensitivity. But as you grow into yourself and into your emotional nature and mature into your emotional awareness, you recognize that you don't have to hide and conceal and try to protect yourself so much out of fear of what others may think, out of fear of losing control of your emotions. It's really about understanding yourself and honoring your sensitivity, honoring that it's okay to cry. Yes, you may feel you get offended very easily if someone says something or looks at you wrong. And I find it interesting that the scorpion has all these little tiny fine hairs all over its body. And that is so it's able to feel and sense very subtle and minuscule vibrations in the environment. So you're already perceptive, you're already empathic, you're already intuitive by nature. So you pick up on a lot of things. And that sensitivity needs to be recognized and it needs to be honored. And as you experience relationships and you've seen times where your sensitivity got the best of you, maybe you snapped off, maybe you cut somebody off prematurely, maybe you just prefer to be isolated and secluded from people, which we'll talk about that and as we get into the video. But you have to recognize that your sensitivity and your emotional nature is really your power. It's really your strength. Draw that water out, your emotions, as you need, and also to know when to put those emotions away, when to put those emotions in its proper container so it's not spilling all out into your relationships, at work, around family, because you don't have a sense of self-control. So this has to be developed. So we want to shift from sensitivity that results in reaction to sensitivity that allows for greater awareness and empathy and gentleness and conversation and communication of those emotions. Oftentimes it can feel like someone is touching your eyeball when it comes to your level of sensitivity. It is just that real. And when you're not aware of what those triggers are, when you're not aware of when your sensitivity is in a heightened state, like for me, I always know when the moon is in Scorpio. I don't need to check it. I just know because I feel that much, my emotions are very intense and my sensitivity is heightened. Someone can say something or do something and I just feel like either crying, going in my room and pouting and crying about it or reacting to it. And so as I've kind of grown into greater emotional awareness, I've learned to take that sensitivity and to really feel into other people, feel into the conversation or situation, not from the perspective of reading too much into it, but just seeing a deeper layer to what's being shared, what's being spoken, what I'm witnessing, what my environment is teaching me, what do I have to learn from that sensitivity instead of reaction or fear or running from the emotions. So it's a lot to learn from your sensitivity, and it's a great deal of teaching that you can do as well, because you learn a lot from what you pick up in your environment and what you read from other people. This is how we gain a greater depth psychology of understanding human behavior and when someone's saying something, where they're coming from, what they're saying without actually saying it. You can read into those deeper layers of a person's communication. Oftentimes people are speaking from their emotions. Many Scorpio moons, they have a vast understanding of their inner world, because you spend so much time doing the inner work, even unconsciously. You're just always processing that information, reading those emotions, sensing it. So I find that very interesting. Another thing about sensitivity before I jump to the next point is that the Scorpion can withstand very extreme temperatures, very extreme environments, which is what makes many Scorpios so resilient and, badass, if I could say so. And researchers, I just actually learned this, that researchers at one point took scorpions and put them in a freezer and froze them overnight. And the next day, put them in the sun. These little scorpions thawed out and just crawled away. How the hell they just survived and endured that goes to show just how resilient and tough these little scorpions are. They can survive in desert-like heat, extreme heat, as well as extreme cold. So you are built to withstand a lot of emotional stuff that comes at you. All of the forces that come at you from wherever direction, from within you, you're built to withstand that on an emotional level. Doesn't mean you won't have outbursts, doesn't mean you won't crack from time to time, doesn't mean you won't have, because other aspects in your natal chart, other facets to who you are, affect just how you react and respond. But just the Scorpio moon itself, this energy, is built to withstand a lot of extremes. So you have to be the one with your knowledge of self to establish a balance, recognize what that balance is, what you need at any given time, finding a containment for your emotional nature. This may require a transformation, a death and rebirth, which is the life cycle, continuous cycle of the Scorpion energy. It's going to deal with death and rebirth, renewing of the mind, changes and shifts in your experiences. So everyone is not going to undergo this. It may be something very unique to you, your energy, your sign, where throughout life you go through quite a few transformations, death and rebirth in any particular area of life, relationships, career, the inner work and personal development, your eating, your lifestyle. So embrace that. Recognize that this is only your process of refinement. It's unique to you. Next, I would like to address the SeCrEcy. Scorpio energy is notorious for its aura of elusiveness and very alluring aura, which attracts people, but yet they can't quite figure you out. They can't quite read your intentions and your emotional motivations, what makes you tick, the interests that you can attract, as well as the curiosity is maybe even your superpower. But it can also turn into the darker side to this, which is manipulation and mind games and wanting to have control of people and situations. So again, this goes back to balance. But I've said before in other videos pertaining to SeCrEcy is that for many Scorpios, it's not a deliberate attempt to be secretive. That's how other people read your desire to maintain your privacy, to protect your emotional nature. Scorpions don't necessarily travel and operate in packs. They're not the friendliest little creatures. They're predators. They're nocturnal. And so I find this interesting in those who have this Scorpio energy, that you operate a certain way. And it's really about self-preservation. It's really about being aware of potential threats. So SeCrEcy is something that is a tool for you. It could even be a weapon for you, but more so it's about protecting your vulnerability and your sensitivity. Being sensitive and vulnerable around people and having people take advantage of that or wound you emotionally in some way can be quite traumatic for a Scorpio, because remember, those emotions run very deep. It can get to the heart center of a person. And on the Scorpion, that's the most sensitive part, is the underbelly of the Scorpion. So it doesn't want to at any point be turned on its backside to expose that sensitivity. So it likes to be grounded. It likes to be aware of its environment and who's around and what's happening in my environment. So all of these traits and behaviors that we can observe from the Scorpion do translate to the psychology of those with the Scorpio energy. Remember, secrecy is not a bad thing in and of itself, but certainly when we're in close, personal, interconnected relationships, we don't want to just deliberately keep secrets. Certainly communication is key for healthy relationships. So you have to know and recognize when you are being secretive, you are concealing your agenda, your contacts and these things because you want to protect your privacy, but it can certainly push away people who do want to get close to you, who do want to form a relationship with you. So if you're interested in that, if you're seeking and looking for close relationships, but you're unconsciously secretive, recognize that that's going to be an issue. Again, many Scorpios are not in the business of being the social butterfly of the zodiac, not always looking for friends. You don't always want people to be friends with you because it has to serve a purpose for you. And if it's a superficial, kind of empty connection and not really something that will help you to explore your own emotional depth, stimulate your mind, stimulate your energy body, then sure, that person may become an acquaintance, but they're not going to be a friend. It takes time for you to develop those types of relationships with people enough to call them your friend. You will want to disclose some secrets, disclose some deep things about yourself in order to really feel that you can trust this person. And it takes time for you to feel them out and watch them and watch their moves before you feel comfortable enough sharing and exposing more of who you are. And in relationships, this can be a very powerful form of communication when it's an unspoken revelation, it's an unspoken exchange. And often for Scorpio, this is done and transmitted through sexual experiences, through your partnerships. And so if this creative side of you, your sexual nature, is not properly channeled, this can definitely result in promiscuity and just having many different partners as you seek to find a connection and a bond with someone where you can be vulnerable, but you're unaware that it doesn't have to be transmitted and translated through sex. It can definitely be a communication and just a patience. And not everyone has that kind of patience to grow with you and build with you and get to know you and wait for you to open those gates. And that could make you feel you have to rush or that other people just walk away from the relationship. That has to be okay. Know your boundaries, know your limits, know you don't have to connect with people through that type of intimacy to get to know them and to open up. Get to know yourself first. Be patient and gentle with yourself and your emotional body first. Recognize your secrecy also serves as a protection for you. And that secrecy is something that, like any other aspect of ourselves, people have to earn the right to really get to know who you are. It's not that you owe anyone these things. So it may sound like secrecy is a bad thing, but in essence, it is not. Just understand and recognize when it's appropriate to remain, private in that way as pertaining to your heart and your emotional nature. And when it's okay to let those guards down. It's okay to open up, to be receptive, to let people in a little bit, because this is going to reflect to you your emotional needs and just how much you are growing and maturing emotionally. Next, dear Scorpio, is solitude. This is a big component to your emotional well-being, is that you need your solitude. You need your time alone. It is a requirement and not something you should feel guilty or ashamed about or that you have to explain to other people. I often find myself explaining this quite a bit. Not only do I have the Scorpio moon, I have my Scorpio moon it's squaring my Lilith, and I often feel the need to withdraw. And this comes across even on my social media platforms where I just want to escape. And so if this is not balanced, this obviously can create fluctuations and inconsistency, and people are like, what the hell is up with you? But it does have a lot to do with the fact that you need that time away and that time in solitude to regroup, to replenish, to flush out and cleanse your emotional body. So you need to honor that. Obviously, communication helps when people know why you're withdrawing. Certainly, they need to know why you've kind of cut them off. But it's important that you first acknowledge your needs. And then for those relationships that you respect and value and honor, you communicate what those needs are. I just need some time. I just need a few weeks. I just need a few days. I just need a retreat. Whatever the case is, sometimes it's just throughout your day. You might want to step away from your desk if you work in a crowded environment, step away from the space and go sit in your car and just do what you do, read a book, watch a video, whatever. But just that time away from other people's energy, because the Scorpion, again, with all these fine hairs, picks up on so much, people's moods, people's energy, people's vibes, people's, just intentions. And that could be a lot to process all day. And you just want to get away from that for a bit. The same is true with even our families. So making sure you're creating that time for yourself to do meditative work, to take a nice shower, a warm bath, to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour or longer in a type of meditative practice where it's quiet. You're burning some candles, you're listening to calming and relaxing music, because this cleanses the emotional body. You don't want to have time alone just to be filling yourself up with more nonsense and garbage and consuming entertainment and gossip and all that. That's a no-go. So be sensible about the solitude you are creating for yourself and how you're utilizing this time to best support your emotional body and your emotional needs. So recognize that you are worthy, your sensitivity, your SeCrEcy, your solitude, what makes you a Scorpio, also gives you that power and transforms you into the phoenix, where you're able to rise from the ashes and do great and amazing things to really inspire people, to really expose in people their own emotional nature and needs and support those needs, and really show up at this hour on the planet when people are most in need of emotional help, when people are most in need of therapy, some type of therapeutic outlet. And you can be a great ear for that. You can be someone who reflects back to them very powerful and transformative insights. So tap into that. Another interesting fact before I shut the video off here is that Scorpions glow in the dark. I didn't always know that. And when I discovered that information, I thought that was so cool, because we are navigating through some very interesting territory on the planet. And this is what makes your sign, your energy so powerful and so needed, is because when we're surrounded by darkness, to be able to glow in the dark, that people can see you and see your light and see what it is that you have to offer, says a lot. And so see that symbolism there. See that when everything seems dark around us, there's a light, there's hope, there's insight, there's wisdom, there's something that you have, there's a gift you have that makes you shine, even in your darkness, even in the darkness that surrounds us. So this is a beautiful thing. So I wanted to share that with you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are interested in a personal session with me, that information is in the description. Just visit the website and schedule your session. I would love to build with you. And until next time, peace.